What is the farthest object we have observed?
Oh, geez. Well, I guess technically it's not an object, but the farthest thing we can observe is the cosmic microwave background, which, coming back to the expansion of the universe, it was one of the final pieces of evidence that proved the Big Bang Theory, or, it vastly supported it. So what it is the leftover light from when the universe was very, very hot and very, very compressed and very, very dense. Mm-hmm. So if you wind back the clock and you go backwards in time, you have stars, you have galaxies. If you go back in time, there was a time when the galaxies hadn't formed yet and the stars hadn't formed yet. And everything was just this sort of gas that was floating around. If you go back in time farther, this gas was very, very compressed and very, very hot, and it was like a plasma. So that's where it's so hot that the electrons are separated from the protons in the atoms. And everything's just buzzing about, and that means that light would not have been able to travel very far because it would have just been bouncing between these electrons that are floating around everywhere. It was very chaotic, like my life. But you wait for the universe to expand a bit, so going back forward in time, then the universe cools down enough that these electrons recombine with their atoms. So then you don't have all these electrons that are floating around everywhere, getting in the way of the photons of light, and this light can all escape at once. And so that's what we're observing when we observe the cosmic microwave background. It's this point when all of that light was released. And so it's also at a point when the universe was very, very smooth and very even, and there were these very slight denser areas, but it was only like 1 part in 10,000. It was very, very slight. And then gradually over time, those slightly denser areas would have collapsed under the force of gravity and become like the first galaxies and the first stars, and then, evolved into the universe we have today, where you do have like these clumpy, rich, denser regions and like vast empty regions, where it's all sort of like the cosmic web, the big spongy shape. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, so it's not that, whether or not you believe in the Big Bang, really, because there is a ton of evidence related to that. But yeah, so that's the furthest thing you can see. In terms of the furthest, distinct object, we've observed the very first galaxies that formed. We call them quasars. And what you're actually observing... Quasars, yeah. Mm-hmm. Which stands for something. Doesn't matter. Quasi-stellar radio objects, something like that. So basically, these are new galaxies that have these supermassive black holes at the center of them. So we think that every galaxy has a big black hole at its center, just like our galaxy does. And back when the universe was hotter and denser, you had a lot of material that would have been falling into these black holes, and spiraling around the black holes. And as time went by, these black holes became much less active, and you have some that are more like the ones we see today. But in the very early universe, you could see these very bright objects called quasars, where it's basically just the material going around these black holes mm-hmm. is glowing very brightly, in radio generally. Yeah. Okay. So those are the farthest things we can see is quasars.
What is the furthest man-made object that has gone? I think it was some telescope.
No, it's the...
Some camera, this Hubble telescope or some...
No,
no?
Hubble is so close compared to...
No, not Hubble, but
yeah.
There was some other one. Voyager One, maybe.
Voyager One. Oh, yes. That's not a telescope, though.
Oh.
So yes, the farthest man-made object from the Earth is Voyager One. We've put a lot of stuff into space. That's the one that's gotten the farthest. It's currently on the order of 20 light hours from Earth.
That's it?
That's it. So it's not even a light year away. And if Voyager...
Not even a light day away, I would say.
Not even a light day away. Almost a light day. Not quite. So it takes about 20 hours for a radio signal to come from Voyager back to the Earth. But yeah, so that's the farthest man-made object. And so in 50 years, almost 50 years?
Oh God.
45 years? Wait, 1977 was when it was launched. That's as far as it's gotten. And if it was to continue at the speed it's going, and if there was a star that was, 4 light years away and it was pointed in the right direction, it would still take tens of thousands of years for it to get to even the closest star, which is like 4 light years away. So